Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for one of the final events of the Historic Water Pavilion at COP26. I'm delighted to welcome you. My name is Jennifer Jun. I'm a Senior Policy Manager for the Stockholm International Water Institute. It is a delight to open this session called International Cooperation on Water and Climate Linkages for Creating a Resilient Future. This event is about the role of international cooperation on water and climate issues to promote the achievement of the climate and water agenda, including the Paris Agreement, including the Water Action Decade by the UN and other international processes. This event will cover existing measures and initiatives on water and climate, particularly the high-level panel on water and climate and the declaration of 2025 as the International Year for the Preservation of Glaciers. Also, it's meant to serve as a platform to present new ideas and initiatives and develop recommendations related to water and climate issues. I am delighted to welcome to the stage His Excellency Mr. Jamshed Shoimzoda, the first Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources of the Republic of Tajikistan.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And you know that I'm just landing. I just come back from Koeppel to Tajikistan, to my own country, to Dushanbe, just landing. And I'm still on the emotional side, what we're doing there. And it's very important what all team doing there. And for me, I just want to highlight it, that it was amazing work from your side and from all team which are together doing the water pavilion in COP 2026. I believe that the question was raised and the recommendation was made will be very important for the future of the water and climate issues. Dear participants of the event and ladies and gentlemen, and you know that the world today is developing with a very high speed. And of course, water plays an important role in this development. At the same time, the impact of climate change confront us with the new challenges in the water sector. The same for my country, for Republic of Tajikistan. Water is the core of this reach to reach the sustainable development targets, because 95% of our electricity is generated by water, I mean by hydropower stations. Water also plays a key role to ensure the food security, as more than 80% of agriculture products are produced based on irrigated agriculture. The role of water is also very important to provide employment for the population, since more than 60% of the population in rural areas is engaged in irrigated agriculture. Water-related natural disasters account for over 18% of disasters and account of over the 70% of economical loss. Just look to these figures, 80% and 70%. Thus, water for Tajikists is not only the basic for social economic development, but also an important link for ensuring national security. Meanwhile, climate change is making its own adjustment in the future of sustainable management and in using of water resources. Our glaciers are actively melting. As noted by His Excellency President of the Republic of Tajikistan at the Water and Climate Leaders Meeting in this COP 2026, we have lost more than 1,000 small glaciers over the past decade. The rate of the melting continues in medium and large glaciers with a speed 0.6, 0.8% per year, and the term of the area of glaciers about 0.1% in terms of ice volume. Please imagine the figures. As you know, the same trend continues in the global level. According to NASA dates between 1993 and 2019, Greenland lost 279 gigatons of ice annually, and Antarctica lost 148 gigatons. It's a billion tons of ice. Unfortunately, we all know what does it mean for the hundreds of millions of the people on Earth. In this regard, the President of the Republic of Tajikistan proposed to declare 2025 the International Year for the Conservation of Glaciers, and to determine the date of the World Water Days, World Glaciers Day. We are convinced that this initiative will give impulse to the new movements at the global level to take a necessary collective action, and the action to protect glaciers from the intensive melting and disappearance. And the recently established Water and Climate Coalition will continue to promote cooperation and integration approach to addressing water and climate issues at all levels. Dear participants, in our opinion, considering the issues for cooperation in the field of the interconnection between water and climate for creating a sustainable future, the following points should be taken into account. First, negative impact of climate change on water resource has been potential to undermine our efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Accordingly, countries should, based on the principles of equality and mutual understanding, implement specific regional and national measures for water resource management, taking into account the impact of the global challenges. Second, the growth of population, and in this regard, the increasing demand for water resource, pose new challenges for us. Thus, the growing demand of water resource can cause serious difficulties in the relation between various sectors of the economy. In these conditions, in our opinion, the widespread introduction of integrated water resources management opens a new opportunity for improving the existing mechanisms of water cooperation at all levels. Third, all our plans and actions must be secured by adequate resources for implementation, and in particular financial resources, investments, and technologies. Expansion of cooperation in the field of science and technology could become an important vector of joint effort for the effective implementation of a project and program for sustainable water use. Fourth, the transborder component of water cooperation plays a central role in ensuring peace, stability, and development in the face of climate change. Effortlessly established water cooperation between countries can become a catalyst for development. And this, at the same time, the lack of such cooperation can cause serious risk and costs that can be negatively affect the economical and social situation in the region. The Republic of Tajikistan is actively promoting water and climate issues on the global agenda. Tajikistan is the initiator of the 8th UN General Assembly resolution on water issues, including the announcement of the International Decade of Action Water for Sustainable Development 1828. The President of Tajikistan was a member of the high-level panel on water, and now is promoting the interconnection of water and climate as a member of the high-level panel on water and climate. And our country, together with Netherlands, are chairs of the UN Water Conference in 2023. Today, Tajikistan also chairs in the International Fund of Saving the Aral Sea, which unites all 5 countries of Central Asia. And in all these initiatives and platforms, we are consistently promoting cooperation as a leading link in other issues and achieving goals and objectives, including water and climate. At the end of my speech, let me thank the World Water Council for organizing this side event, and all of you for participating in this event, and wish all of us the fruitful work. And one more time, thank you very much for making big job in the water pavilion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Shoimzoda. And now I turn to the next segment to bring in speakers to discuss the 9th World Water Forum, International Cooperation on Water and Climate Issues. So first, I'd like to invite Mr. Mohamed Diatta, who is from the 9th Forum Executive Secretariat, to take the floor as a virtual speaker.
Thank you very much. Do you see my screen? Okay. Thank you very much. On behalf of Mr. Abdullaev, Executive Secretary of the 9th World Water Forum, I would like to present you the 9th World Water Forum, International Cooperation on Water and Climate Issue, and how the 9th World Water Forum take into account climate in its framework. Just to remind that the 9th World Water Forum will be held in Dakar under the theme of water security for peace and development from 21 to 26 March 2022. And the aim of the 9th World Water Forum is to improve and instrumental tools and steps towards effective response to water challenges around the world. Just to remind that the 9th World Water Forum will connect all international agendas related to water. First of all, the Sustainable Development Goal, the Paris Agreement, the Sendai Agreement on natural hazard and disasters, Africa Agenda 2063, the Senegal Emergent Plan, and all framework that contribute to make sure that we are building strong resilience on water. And for the forum, we will have 4 main priorities: water security and sanitation, water for rural development, cooperation, and means and tools. And in means and tools, we'll have financing issues, governance, knowledge and innovation management. And this is the main priority of the forum. And the forum will be an innovative forum articulated around 4 components: a summit of head of states, a multi-stakeholders platform, Dakar 2022 initiative, and the expo. Now, regarding the forum framework, we have 4 main priorities, and in which priority we have we worked on specific action. And for water security, we see that one F is to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate change and natural disaster. And regarding cooperation aspects, we have now 6 priorities: implement IWM at all levels, implement transboundary cooperation to foster peace and prevent conflict, to expand international cooperation, including order and capacity building to foster peace, enhance cooperation to multi-purpose infrastructure, including hydropowers, enhance north and south-south and triangular cooperation on data sharing. We know that on climate change issues, we need to have data monitoring to be sure that all decisions are based on strong scientific recommendation. How we can now enhance multi-stakeholders dialogue on partnership, including outside actors outside of the water box. And now for the process, we have a multi-stakeholders platform. On each priority was defined by the action group, and we have the pilot group, the action group, and the consultative group. And now we have, with the second stakeholders meeting, we have already validated 100 session on which all the program of the forum will be articulated. And now regarding the water security and sanitation working group's proposal, how to strengthen resilience, adaptive capacity to climate change and natural disaster. We know that balancing green and green infrastructure for adaptation to climate change is the interest of the world. How to promote the nature-based solution, how to improve resilience to climate change, crisis, extreme water disaster, food planning and social capacity building. We think that all the groups think that this is the key issues that we have to address. And building resilience through data and knowledge identification, monitoring, early warning and assessment of water-related risks are essential to build strong resilience. And at least accelerating actions, how we increase financing and sharing experience for climate project development. All these subjects will be discussed at Dakar in 2022. Now, some insight from the forum organization. after the second stakeholders meeting, we are working on the draft forum program on the development until November, at the end of November. And now for the next steps, we are involving and mobilizing all partners to the forum, and in March in 2022, all session, Keystone Roundtable, exhibition, political messenger, and report launching will be possible at Dakar, and we invite you to join us in this role. And we are very open. My colleague, who was one of the action group leader on this preparatory process, will present all the issues that the working group of the Ninth World Forum has read during this work. I thank you, all of you, and I'm available to give you some more information and more detail from the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diatta, for that very clear and informative presentation on the World Water Forum, which we are all looking very much forward to. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Edouard Boinet of the International Network of Basin Organizations, INBO, to take the floor with us virtually.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Jennifer. Thanks a lot for giving me the floor. I'm really pleased to participate online to this event, and I would like to start by thanking both Tajikistan, Senegal, and the World Water Council for coming up with this joint program that builds a bridge between the Water Decade and the World Water Forum. The topic today for me, representing the International Network of Basin Organizations, is of course strengthening resilience and adaptive capacity. What is the work we've been doing under the framework of the World Water Forum, and we are doing that for INBO as Secretariat of the Global Alliances for Water and Climate, that gathers business, cities, basin organizations, and actors of clean desalination. So to start, if the slides are going, yeah. So this is where we fit in the overall program of the World Water Forum, as you've seen with Mr. Diatta. Under the priority water security and sanitation, we've seen that the theme was water security for peace and development, because peace and development depends on water security, and our water security very much depends on how we manage to adapt to climate changes. Resilience, adaptation, tomato, well, they are perceived as interchangeable, but here we will go through the definition. And for us, adaptation is a mean to an end, the resilience, and we have to remain critical of the notion itself of resilience, return to the initial state. We've seen with COVID-19 that return to the initial state was maybe not exactly what we wanted to get. So the action group members that have been working on the preparation for this theme are global networks and NGOs, both national and international, national agencies, and UN economic commissions, including the one you see here from Africa, with a broad range of partners covering a great area, a good geographic balance. And they've organized their collective collaborative work, in particular online, in the context that we are all undergoing for the past year and a half, through the digital platform, the online platform, where we've organized working group meetings, call for contributions, held the proposal of the categories of action that we wanted to see featured in the forum, and the proposal of projects and session. You've seen as well through Mr. Diatta's presentation the different categories of actions that we wanted to promote. That include infrastructures, of course, both green and gray, but also non-infrastructural measures, and that's actually most of what we are planning there. So strategies, planning and social capacity building, but also data and knowledge, and the cycle of project, how to accelerate incubation of projects, including through financing, what we've done on our side since COP22 in Marrakesh. So we are really glad that this theme has been taken forward. The recommendations that have been made include, of course, the promotion of the implementation of nature-based solutions, which we know provide excellent performance when planned in an integrated manner at basin level due to their cumulative impact. We've also mentioned that there's a need to boost resilience of the most vulnerable regions and communities through education, training, and capacity building. And to do that at really operational level, hydrographic basin municipalities with some concrete measures. And this, as always, go through a bit more knowledge, monitoring networks, forecasting tools, and early warning systems, because of course you cannot manage what you don't know, and it's all the more true with climate changes, because we know that we are expecting a greater intensity, a greater frequency of climate disasters, water-related climate disasters. So I wanted to give you an hint of the project that will be promoted at the World Water Forum in Dakar. For instance, we have a French biodiversity office project called Artisan with 10 pilot projects throughout France, where you pilot test nature-based solutions and compare their comparative advantage with other measures. And here you see application of these types of measures in Spain, in the Ebro River Basin, where we have studied the impact of reopening secondary arms or the impermeabilization of some part of the basins, all in the logic of giving more room to the river and limiting the impacts in location where the damages in lives or goods could be great. You see other types of measure here with the before and after picture and how it looks like. And we know that these kind of measures are no regret measures that really help regardless of the scenario, the climate scenario that unfolds, to deal with the impacts of floods and drought as well with natural water retention measures and WRM. Here you have a way that has been developed by the International Shelf Commission in order to structure a bit their different types of measures in the basins through the 3 Ps: prevention, protection, preparedness. And here you also have this combination of both infrastructural measures, either green or gray, and measures of governance, of knowledge, of capacity building, both of institutions and population. And this is more related to raising awareness and education on the risk. Here, some example of no-regret measures in the Rhine River Basin, also transboundary river basin, where the Vision 2040 developed in the planning for the use of water resources in the basins in this basin has led to the objective of 200 square kilometers of floodplains that are restored and reconnected to their basins. And as you see here, they are already quite close to that mark. Same things for the Oxbow lakes that have been reconnected. And it's true as well that for drought control, they are developing plans in order to both assess the level of the threats and adapt their plans and measures accordingly. And I finish with Africa, of course, because this will be a very African forum. We've seen here the balance, the geographic balance that we wanted to have. But of course, we will also have initiatives for and from Africa, including this one, 100 Water and Climate Projects for Africa, which aims to incubate new projects for adaptation in the continents. And we already have 50 projects covering 30 countries and 300 million people that depends for their livelihoods in the sound management of the basins that are targeted. That's all for me, but of course, I invite you to participate to the World Water Forum. We've already, through the consultative process, have had a wide range of contributors outside our group, and we very much welcome your own contribution. Thanks a lot for your attention, and let's hope we can avoid this type of maladaptation.
Thank you, Edouard. Very good advice to avoid maladaptation, and especially exciting to hear about the 100 projects on climate and water in Africa. And now it gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. Rustam Abdullaev, head of the International Department of the Executive Committee of the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to take part in this important event on international cooperation on water and climate interlinkages for creating a resilient future. The water and climate issues indeed affect all aspects of human life and are one of the most important issues for the sustainable development. And water and climate issues, they are fully reflected and integrated in the agenda of the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference that I'm going to present you now. So the main objectives of the Dushanbe Water Decade Conference are accelerating the implementation of internationally agreed water-related goals and the targets through promoting science-based solutions and tools, improving capacity building, knowledge education, showcasing best practices and successful partnerships, and in general strengthening cooperation at all levels. So the conference will make a contribution to the implementations of the water-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as other globally important documents such as Paris Climate Agreement, Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and others. And to facilitate an inclusive preparation for the conference, as well as to develop a comprehensive program and outcome of the conference, the International Advisory Committee was established, which is chaired by the World Bank and Tajikistan, so and consists of 28 members and 15 alternates. International Advisory Committee consists of the well-known experts, scholars dealing with water and climate issues, representing all regions of the world, different stakeholders, sectors, and in a very well gender-balanced manner. So the program of the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference includes 12 interactive panels and thematic sessions, forums on regions and major groups. All panels of the conference will address the 5 dimensions of the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework. The panels are clustered in 3 groups, focusing on different themes along the 3 dimensions of sustainable development in the post-COVID context. They are water for health and people, water for livelihoods and inclusive economic growth, water, environment, and climate resilience. And one group of interactive panels focusing on a means of implementation that are education, technology, awareness, and knowledge. You can see that almost all interactive panels, they cover climate and water issues, but however, 3 panels under the group water, environment, and climate resilience are especially focused on water and climate, and they are highlighted in red. So promoting nature-based water solutions, water quality and ecosystems, resilient infrastructure and disaster risk reduction, and the water resources and climate, reinforcing the interlinkages. The objectives of the panels is to focus discussions and produce solutions on specific issues that play an important role for the achievement of Water Action Decade goals, including SDG 6 and other water-related goals and targets. So in taking into account the climate change issues, particular attention will be paid on interlinkages among water and climate, SDG 6 and other SDGs. The panels are expected to discuss all levels, local, national, regional, international, of water and climate-related actions, including basins. So, the role of the Dushanbe, of the second Dushanbe conference in the UN 2023 Water Conference. The importance of the second Dushanbe Water Conference was reaffirmed at the global level through the United Nations General Assembly resolution, which indicates the Dushanbe Water Decade Conference as a key preparatory event for the United Nations Conference on Comprehensive Review, Midterm Comprehensive Review of the implementation of the Water Decade. The UN 2023 Water Conference co-chaired by Tajikistan and the Netherlands, and will be held in March 2023 in New York. The resolution calls on the offer of the government of Tajikistan to use the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference as a main platform to support an effective preparation for the International Comprehensive Review Conference and ensure linkages with other water-related meetings that may serve to provide input for the preparatory process of the midterm conference, such as high-level symposium on water during the UN Ocean Conference, Bonn Water Dialogue for Results, Asia-Pacific Water Summit, and the 9th World Water Forum. So in this context, in order to ensure the effective preparation for the midterm comprehensive review and ensure linkages of the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference with 9th World Water Forum, it was signed the MOU between the Executive Secretariat of the 9th World Water Forum and the Secretariat of the Dushanbe Water process in the organization of the World Water Forum in Dakar and the second Water Decade Conference in Dushanbe. We believe that by our joint efforts, we can elevate water and the climate issues at the global agenda and to the success of the second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference and in general UN 2023 Water Decade Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullaev, for that great presentation and a very exciting roadmap to 2023. And now I'd like to invite a special message from Ms. Mina Guli, who is a marathonist. She's an environmental activist and CEO of the Thirst Foundation based in Australia.
Hi, my name is Mina, and over the last 5 years, I've put my body on the line to bring awareness to the global water crisis and to drive action to solve it. I've run thousands of kilometers across some of the harshest places in the world, from the deserts of Antarctica and the Atacama to the rivers of the Amazon and the Nile. Along the way, I've met women and girls who spend hours each day risking their lives to fetch water for their families. Kids who've skipped school to wait for their daily water supplies to be delivered. And young farmers whose dams were so dry I could run across them, and who told me, what hope do I have to pray for rain or to leave my farm? These are neither isolated incidents nor people far from us. They are systemic problems that are impacting the people and the raw materials that are the foundation of our supply chains, our economies, and our societies. Water is everything, but we treat it as if it's nothing. And the consequences of that are devastating. In South Africa, I watched as fights broke out on the street when people realised there wasn't enough water to go around. In France, I met with farmers whose precious grape harvests were under threat from highly polluted groundwater supplies. In Central Asia, boats lie stranded in what was the 4th biggest inland ocean in the world. And right here in Australia, towns have literally run dry. Across the world, healthy freshwater ecosystems are dying as we continue to drain and degrade our rivers, our lakes, and our freshwater wetlands, ecosystems that sustain not only 10% of all species, but us as well. These are not problems we can hope will improve with time. Climate change means more extreme floods, devastating droughts, and record storms. Communities suffering from too much water or too little, or sometimes both, in the same year. While water has finally been recognised during discussions at COP26, it's not enough. For too long, we've been blind to the scale and urgency of the world's water problems. Deforestation, oceans, food, climate change, they are all firmly on the global agenda, but not water, not the most precious resource on Earth. Over the next 18 months, we have an opportunity to change that. In 2023, the UN will host its first water summit in almost 50 years. This is our opportunity to put water onto the agenda and to drive commitments to real, meaningful action towards closing the gap on SDG 6, water and sanitation for all. But to do this, we're going to have to come together as a community, breaking the barriers that have divided us in the past and uniting around a common goal. And we're going to have to bring others along with us, mums and dads, children, leaders, investors, governors, people who make up not just the we of the water community, but the we of the world. The good news is that many of them are already there. When I set out to run 100 marathons in 100 days for water, and my body broke after 62 marathons, I watched as a global movement rose up around the world in response. Thousands of people stepping up for water, sharing their stories, and making their own water commitments. This is a community that's grown to over 153 countries around the world. People who are running, walking, mobilising for water. People who understand that climate change is water change. People who understand that individually we can make an impact, but that together we can change the world. So, now we have a choice to make. To turn our backs and to walk away, or to rise to the challenge, to work with us as we continue to run and to grow this community, to participate in the conversations in the lead up to the UN summit in 2023, to commit to taking meaningful action as a government, a company, an investor, an individual. And most importantly, to stand with us on the steps of the UN on World Water Day 2023, together with millions of people and with hundreds of companies and countries from around the world. This is our moment. Let's make it count.
Mina, thank you so much for your powerful words and powerful images. Before I open it up to a panel discussion, I'd like to invite a very special video message also from an important speaker from Australia, Mr. Anthony Slatyer. Anthony is the former head of water division for the Australian government and now an independent consultant and founding member of the Water Policy Group. He serves as special advisor on water to the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and is a representative on the International Advisory Committee to the Dushanbe process.
Thank you, Moderator Jennifer June, for allowing me to pre-record this, as it's 3 a.m. here in Canberra when you're having this this meeting. Can I also acknowledge and thank our hosts, the Government of Tajikistan and the World Water Council, distinguished speakers and fellow panellists and COP26 delegates in our audience. Dear friends and colleagues, as we should all think of ourselves in this great collective endeavour of mitigating and adapting to climate change, we really are all in this together and must be dear friends and colleagues. Thanks to this first ever Water and Climate Pavilion, the strong interlinkages between climate and water have been thoroughly explored in the past 2 weeks. They are visible in Australia too, where our lived experience is that water and climate go hand in hand. They are inseparable. Our scarce water resources have always had to be managed in a climate that has been both extreme and unpredictable, with long and deep droughts, usually ending with great floods. Adapting to our climate and how it is changing has caused us to value and manage our water resources in the context of great uncertainty about future water availability. As climate change alters weather patterns and extremes globally, Australia's experience may be useful to others who are facing water scarcity and climate extremes. At this pavilion, as in Australia, it has also been very good to see the water services sector stepping up, contributing to efforts to keep within reach the Paris Agreement goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. For example, Water Initiative for Net Zero, about how improved water and wastewater management can contribute to mitigation of methane emissions and support the rollout of renewable energy, was launched right here. I can also share with you, in my capacity as a member of Water Policy Group, that we have sought the views and perspectives of ministers and waterheads of 88 countries from all regions on what they see as the greatest risks to maintaining or achieving good water management in their countries. The highest ranked risk, by a large margin, is climate change. They are saying, if you care about water, you must care about climate change. And given the potential for improved water management to assist countries to meet Paris Agreement goals, I would add, if you care about climate, you should care about water too. So how can the links between water and climate agendas be strengthened? First, I think all messages from this pavilion about the interdependency of the water and climate agendas must be advocated at every opportunity, especially to the climate community, which does not often hear this message. I recognise that there's a lot on the climate agenda already, but water can make a valuable contribution. Second, the water community needs to deliver on its potential to help achieve mitigation and adaptation goals. How to do so should be a central topic for future global-scale water events. Third, as climate change amplifies the hydrological cycle and makes successful and sustainable water management even more imperative in all countries, we need to work out how multilateral processes in water can support national efforts to do better. I think there is much benefit in using major global water events such as the upcoming 2023 United Nations Water Conference to share experiences and lessons learned from all around the world on water policies and practices that can achieve Agenda 2030 water targets while also mitigating emissions and adapting to a more extreme climate. Australia is already sharing our water experiences through bilateral and regional partnerships, and the Australian Water Partnership hosted a session at this same pavilion to share water and climate experiences across the Indo-Pacific. Multilateral processes can expand and extend this kind of sharing. Indeed, widely promulgating new and successful approaches and guidance on these matters can be seen as a type of policy scaffolding. What do I mean by policy scaffolding? Well, such scaffolding can help governments reach higher and further, to work more safely, to implement what can often be difficult decisions to change water management policy. I think such efforts will become increasingly important with the changing climate. I wish you all well for the remainder of this session, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tony, for your prescience and your policy guidance. Now I'd like to turn to our panelists, who are all, the three of them are on the stage with us and one joining us virtually. I'll first introduce Mr. Johannes Cullmann. He's the Director of Climate and Water at the World Meteorological Organization. On the stage with us is Sonja Koeppel, who is the Secretary of the Water Convention at UNECE. Mr. James Dalton, Director of the Global Water Program at IUCN, and Mr. Zafar Makhmudov, who's the Executive Director of the Regional Environment Center for Central Asia. I'll start with a couple of guiding questions, and we have about 10 minutes. First, what are the interlinkages between climate and water, and how do we make a stronger link between the water and climate agendas? And I'll start with Johannes.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Can everybody hear me in Glasgow?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I am so amazed how after 2 weeks of being there in the pavilion, you are still so strong and alive. I've been there for 1 week and I was almost, ripe for holidays when I returned home. But it's really great to see you. Thanks, Jen, for organizing all this, and thanks to all the others in Glasgow who are still there and going strong. Now, water and climate are the same parts of the coin that we deal with, or the two sides of the coin we deal with. We have heard it, I think, all during the past 2 weeks. I don't think I need to do a long debate about how important it is to finally integrate these agendas. We know from this COP that the awareness is there. We need to take it into the next COP to make sure water gets on the agenda of the negotiations in terms of adaptation and resilience, because there is no resilience without water. It is clear that we need it for disaster risk reduction, for food security. We have heard about the implications of the melting cryosphere, of the rising sea levels. It's clear that water and climate are the same thing. Now, two important messages maybe from my side, because this is one of the last events here. This is about international cooperation. And I think we have a lot of wonderful initiatives, the Water and Climate Coalition, that the Tajik, the Dutch, the Hungarians and others are spearheading, and that is supported by 10 UN agencies, and the Global Water Partnership is one of them, but there are many other good ideas and initiatives. Now what we need to do is we need to bring all this power together to make sure that we improve the way that people are cooperating in practical terms. All our endeavor to bring better information and monitoring systems through the Water and Climate Coalition will not work. And all the finances we want to mobilize in different forms will not make an impact if we cannot create better transboundary, regional, bilateral cooperation and agreement on water. And I'm sure Sonja, who sits below me, will talk about that. It is essential that we rethink nationally determined contributions and adaptation plans at the scale of impact. And the scale of impact is the river basin, is the area where we produce food, is the area where we can exchange energy at an economic and ecologically viable cost. So we need to come to this agreement to work together. And I think this is the message one. And the message two, that I didn't hear the word trust so often in the past days, I think, in the water pavilion. Maybe I listened into the wrong events, but I think trust in the water and climate issue is the main thing. We know that the emissions that we estimate are not accurate. We know that there are so many political sensitivities around water and climate cooperation, but we can create trust if we measure and look at the data together, if we comprehend together what our environment is and where it is going. And I think this is one of the beautiful messages that we can bring from this COP, because I saw on the corridors in the discussions that trust is there. And we just need to make sure that this trust that is amongst the COP people also, that we can transport this through our activities into the countries and to help working together for a more interlinked, more collaborative, more peaceful world that will then, I'm sure, address the right issues for water and climate. So I am very positive, and this is my last event in the Water Pavilion for this COP. I'm sure we will have good ones in the next COP, and I take away a very good feeling. We can build trust, we can share information, and we can work together. So with that, over to you, Jen.
Thank you, Johannes. Sonja, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think we are late in the agenda, but to move forward towards COP27 and to put water higher on the international climate agenda, we firstly need to even more unite in the water sector. We need to unite between those people working on WASH and those working on water management. And I think the coalition of partners having work on this pavilion is a very good example, but there are more which could be brought in. And under UN Water, for example, we have the UN Water Expert Group on Water and Climate. So we need to go forward in this sense. Secondly, in my view, we need to actually start climate-proofing our own activities in the water field through activities and approaches such as CRIDA by Agua and others, because our water investments today need to be still viable and usable in the future. Thirdly, in my view, we really need to talk to the climate community and actually understand them and talk to the negotiators to see where we can bring in the water voice, where it can be heard. And here, obviously, the NDCs and the fact that more than 80% of countries are mentioning water in the NDCs provides an opportunity. But the national adaptation plans are another important field to work on. And I would actually say, going forward towards COP27, we need to not only have a water pavilion, but we also need to have water events in all the other pavilions. For example, have a water event in the health pavilion, have a water event in the energy pavilion, etc. In addition, I think we need to, that means that we need to reach out to other sectors, show them how important water is for them to be actually functioning, to be actually working. And then, finally, as Johannes has just said, I think we also need to show that regional and transboundary cooperation on adaptation is crucial to make adaptation more effective, because it enables, as I said this morning, to share resources, to share data, and to locate measures where they have the optimum effect in a basin. So, with this, I would like to hand back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Sonja. James, please.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Jennifer. I'll be quick. In terms of the interlinkages, I think the issue is that it's pretty obvious, right? You only have to look at any TV news report or any newspaper article or magazine in terms of demonstrating what climate change is and looks like, and it's floods and droughts, right? Very simply put. It's extremes. It's also glaciers melting. So we visualize climate change through water, and yet water remains absent in the texts and the negotiations. And this is both baffling and bewildering, but also it's the opportunity for water to be more clearly understood within both adaptation.
Dalton.
Adaptation and mitigation. I think though we have more knowledge increasingly, and we need more knowledge, and we need to move on water mitigation, and that's happening, and that will happen over the course of the next 12 to 18 months with new initiatives and new research. And these are just opportunities. I think we have to seize that, the moment that we've got, the momentum that we've got, broaden the partnership for water and climate, and really capitalize on this leading into COP27 in Egypt with a clearer idea of strategy for water.
Thanks, James. Zafar, please.
Well, let me then skip the part on the importance of the water, because the Honorable Minister from Tajikistan has already spoken about the importance of the water. Muna has spoken how precious resource it is. And what I would like to draw our attention to is the climate change, which is already an emergency in the Central Asian region, and specifically in Tajikistan. And when answering to the questions of interlinkages between water and climate, well, in countries like Tajikistan, it is particularly visible how the importance of the water, since this is the main natural resource and wealth of the country. Tajikistan has been raising the issue of water already for several years, and Tajikistan has been also ringing the bell of the alarm that we have to preserve the waters, not only in the country, but for the sake of the environmental and socio political stability, not only in one country, but in the region. So what I would like to say is, since countries like Tajikistan are known as the water towers of the region, it would be also important to highlight that if Tajikistan is already under threat under climate change and we are already losing the water resources in the region, that is a direct link to the stability, development and security of the region. So I would also like to underline the words just mentioned by, the point just mentioned by Sonja, that we have to try to make sure that every pavilion here speaks about water, about the importance of the water. And I would like to also join this point by saying that in the 26 years of the history of COP, the 5 Central Asian countries had their own pavilion this year. And that was organized by the Central Asian Regional and Environmental Center, CAREC. And we have been organizing specific side events on water. And I think we have to continue, and we have to do that more purposefully with concerted actions towards next COP in Egypt.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'd like to just swiftly move forward. Thank you, Johannes, Sonja, James, and Zafar for your crucial insights. And now I'd like to invite for the summary and conclusion of this event, Mr. Sultan Rahimzoda, who's the chairman of the Executive Committee of the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea, and also Special Envoy to the President of the Republic of Tajikistan to the High-Level Panel on Water and Climate.
Thank you very much, dear Jennifer, for excellent moderation of this side event. I thank also His Excellency First Deputy Minister Jamshed Shoimzoda from Tajikistan for his welcoming speech, which inspired a very good panel discussion today. I thank also Ministry of Energy and Water Resources of the Republic of Tajikistan and the World Water Council for co-organizing this side event dedicated to one of the most important tools to address water and climate issues, international cooperation. Indeed, international cooperation plays an important role to bridge the developed countries with developing countries. Politicians and local communities, financial institutions and implementing agencies, scientists and practitioners, different regions, sectors, countries and stakeholders to address existing problems, to find solutions and to catalyze actions towards achieving the goals and targets. I also highly appreciate the valuable inputs by our distinguished speakers and panelists representing different stakeholders from different regions. They have shared their ideas and perspectives how international cooperation could help to link water and climate agenda to achieve both water and climate resiliency. First Deputy Minister Shoimzoda highlighted the importance of international cooperation to address water and climate issues, as both of them have transboundary character, going beyond the efforts of one or two even countries. Therefore, more strong and mobilized efforts are needed today. He mentioned about the new initiative of the President of the Republic of Tajikistan about declaring the 2025 as an International Year of Preservation of glaciers, and noted that this kind of initiatives could catalyze cooperation, partnership and movement at different levels to preserve the glaciers, the main source of fresh water, basically the source of our life. So we have had presentations by Mr. Mohamed, Diatta and Mr. Edouard Boinet about the Nine World Water Forum and integration of the water and climate issues in the thematic framework of the Nine World Water Forum. Mohamed mentioned basically the different aspects of cooperation from the local level through the implementation of integrated water resources management up to the international level, global level, bringing together the politicians and the different stakeholders. And Edouard also mentioned in particular the process on actions from the thematic group 1F on strength and resilience and adaptive capacity to climate change and natural disasters, bringing also some experience from the Schuld Commission, from the Rhine Commission, from the Africa region, especially mentioning 100 water and climate projects in Africa they launched, and 50 of them already being implemented. So it's great news, basically. Mr. Rustam Abdullaev from the Secretariat of the Second Dushanbe Water Decade Conference in 2022 has informed us about the preparation to this conference, including its program and how it was built, basically, through the inclusive approach and through the very participatory approach, having this international advisory committee. So he highlighted once again the importance of integrated approach in addressing water and climate issues to find the right solution. I think that you will agree with me also regarding the very inspiring and emotional video from Mina Guli, our friend, marathonist, eco-activist from Australia. She ran 1,000 kilometers from the deserts of Africa to Antarctica, from the Niles to Amazons, to bring awareness about the water crisis, to drive actions. Along the way, as she mentioned, she met women and girls, kids, farmers, having a lot of problems with water. And these peoples are not far from us, basically. They are expecting actions from us, from the world community. They do hope for further, for better future, basically. And I thank also our distinguished panelists here. And Johannes, thank you also joining us from Singapore. I know that it's a very late night time, I think, is in Singapore. Johannes, you with us, joining us in this event. Thank you very much. And Mr. James, Dalton, Mr. Zafar Mahmoud of Sonja Koeppel, and my friend from Australia also, Anthony Slatyer, who basically sent us a pre-recorded video message regarding those questions we have and we discuss in this side event. So all our friends, they have expressed their views and suggestions how the interlinkage between climate and water could be strengthened, and how can international cooperation contribute in mitigation and adaptation to the climate change. So they brought a lot of ideas, experiences and suggestions how we can work together in this direction. And I think the clear message was also we have to act now. And they are true, there are many opportunities on the ground, and our joint efforts within Water and Climate Coalition, the Nine World Water Forum, the Dushanbe Water Process, and the conference in 2022, the UN 2023 Water Conference, which will be co-chaired by Tajikistan and the Netherlands. The preparatory process of these events, as well as many other initiatives and platforms, could bring success. We have been already putting a lot of efforts to make the preparatory process of these events inclusive, action-oriented and cross-sectoral. So together with our Dutch friends, we are leading the preparation of the UN 2023 conference to make it a watershed moment for the world community. But without good cooperation, without proper cooperation, it is impossible to achieve this success. In Tajik language, we have a proverb, "Qatra qatra jam shavad, daryoho ban shavad," which means collecting or harvesting drop by drop, you can make a river. And that is a good solution or good message to all of us. When we are uniting our efforts, we can do many things. And it's true, basically, no no country or even region itself can address water and climate issues alone. We have to collaborate, we have to cooperate and put actions on the ground, and only by joining our efforts we will be able to achieve success. I think that the Water Pavilion has already made valuable input in this process. 5 governments, Tajikistan, the Netherlands, Germany, UK and Scotland, jointly with more than 20 or around 30 international and regional partners made possible for the first time in the history of the COPs this pavilion. So, and yes, today we are approaching the end of the COP and approaching the end of this water pavilion basically. And this pavilion really provided a lot of opportunities to us. It united us, united the nations, countries, cultures, ideas, and initiatives, and it is already done. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank very much the members of the steering committee who made possible this water pavilion, SIWI, IUCN, UNECE, and our distinguished friends, Jennifer, James, Sonja, Paula, and the others who really did great job to make the pavilion successful house for the water people. But now it was said that we should go in the next COP out of the water box, also to bring water to other pavilions too. So, and really, again, thanks a lot for our dear friends and the members of the steering committee group who did this job, and I would kindly ask you to applaud for them for the great job they did. But our journey is continuing. We have the 9 World Water Forum, the Dushanbe Conference, Japan Water Summit, World Water Week, Ocean Conference, and many others ahead of us. So we have to double our efforts to unite our ideas and actions within these events and other platforms toward the UN 2023 conference, which is unique in its nature. It was said already, it will be the first UN conference on water after almost 50 years. And expectation of the world community from it is very high. It is hope for many people across the world, and as it was mentioned by Mina, so we can make an impact together, but we can make an impact alone, but together we can change the world. So this is our moment, so let's make it count. So wish you success to all of us, and thank you very much once again for joining this session, and wish you also safe trip back to home. Thank you very much. Yes.